Today went mostly neutral, so in the morning I realized I didn't defrost my bacon and my meat stuff for the morning to cook, and I realized the night before I put it in the freezer, not the fridge. So instead, I adapted and I ate a bunch of whole wheat products in the morning, and I didn't really get enough protein in the morning, to be honest. So it was enough to last me a little bit. When I got to school, it went mostly fine. I described the feel as I was walking in, like the atmosphere of a cruise ship, like an RF4 excursion. For anyone who has went through a cruise ship before, there's always ambient sounds before actually going down, like let's say on a shore excursion to somewhere like Greece or somewhere like Italy. You always hear people moving around. There's always like an ambient like fan sound that's going on. I felt that same at school during that time of morning, although school itself isn't a cruise, but did have that feeling, to be honest. But for a few minutes, I was able to hold a fairly short conversation with one of the people in the groups that I was in this morning. I talked about a few events about what happened yesterday and like a few days before, and I was talking about myself too. And then eventually, I ended up drifting away from the conversation and working on something that I had to finish up. Now, what I overheard is that apparently there was some sort of book title named quote unquote All My Rage. Apparently, one of the English teachers who's reading it in their English class, one of my friends are in. I heard that he was apparently commenting on the girl's curves and her looks, like the one character in the book. And the people in my group were all talking about how crazy this teacher was and why not be something in a school book anyway. It was kind of crazy. If you guys do want to know the title, I'm not sure if it's a novel or a book. I did ask for the title, but it is All My Rage, so I'm not sure the author though. It was crazy. I might take a read at it. Let's see if it lives up to its controversial craziness as I heard it. And I asked if it was a novel, but it was just like a regular book. So I'm not sure if there's like multiple books or like seasons to it. Then also at the same time, I did decide to finish up an English assignment. Now that I remember the name, thankfully, credit to Pat's, credit to Alexis. Now we're moving down to first period. I used Voss with my teacher, and I also tested him on No Sabo. He answered No Sabo and that he doesn't really like it. I think I kind of overstayed my greeting handshake when I decided to talk with him in the beginning of class, though both of us ended up laughing after about it. After that, we took a Spanish test, and we took the typical sounding audios where it says, quote unquote, La actividad de tres. Escucha para el odio. Quote unquote. Oh well, it went mostly fine. After that, I decided to finish up another one of his assignments, but I did it for the next 15 minutes, next period, since I wasn't able to during that class, because that test took me a long time to do. Now, PE period. During those 15 minutes I worked on that assignment, there was this group of boys who were talking about a girl and how she looked cute. Some were even scared of adding her and even called her boyfriend ugly. They ranted about her whilst also oddly praising her looks. Like they called her like a bad person, but just oddly enough told her that she was cute, that she looked cute, like in their own little boy group. They even said that they're afraid to talk to her because of her looks. And for me, I sense that there's a lot of superficiality going on with this boyfriend group that I heard that was right by me. Like they do have malice intentions. I'll leave it as that. And now I sense, as a result of their conversation, that girl like dramatizing her, I sense that no wonder in this high school, no wonder others don't have boyfriends or girlfriends because of people like them. And no wonder I myself don't even have a girlfriend, because some of those people before that could have theoretically dated me, since they've been run through badly by these types of boys, they may have thought I was those same category of boys. So I'm beginning to get it now. That's another reason why I am not in a relationship in high school right now, is because of that reason too. Toxicity blocked my chance for that matter. And then obviously during PE period after those 15 minutes short, those same group of girls that came up and asked me, the one that threatened to beat me up yesterday, they told me quote unquote an hour later. And I quietly whispered to them that I'm gonna tell the teacher if there's gonna be problems going on. So I think I should have said it louder, to be honest. For PE in our archery unit, I was able to hit the outer black of the target, and I was able to also hit the inner yellow lining of the target. It was very close to the bullseye. Though I did miss a few arrows, I did miss a few shots. And eventually, I did try to talk to someone who spoke Spanish, and he asked me if I knew someone named Eli. And I think I should have spoken more to him in Spanish, but I think I got too distracted on my bows and having to make those shots. But anyways, though, big credit to Eli, that other Spanish speaker. So at the end, a different group of girls called me out for not calling them out, and they made a bunch of drama about me. And then I said, quote unquote, oh wow, I'm offended at me, I guess, for not calling you guys or shutting you guys out, quote unquote. And then I said, quote unquote, well, that's me when I like to spread disinformation. And said, well, the miss of misinformation, misinformation, as they told me about some drama that's apparently some people are after me. And then I ended the conversation after because I want to get out of PE class, I'll be really honest. Now, credit to Rayon for the logistics before about PE class. I don't really have much to say here. Third period, I worked on the quiz assignment questionnaire and I did evens questions. My partner did the odds questions, and it went mostly fine. Obviously, the situation between the two girls, which one of their names was Taryn, if you guys remember from my other videos, and then the other boy that happens every day. They argue to each other pretty often, and it's pretty funny at the same time, to be honest. So that was going on in the background. The thing is that when looking back at my assignment, I didn't realize there were 20 questions that I had to do. So right at the end, I hurriedly completed those last 10 questions that I had to do, and I also turned in another assignment that I realized was due yesterday, and then eventually the teacher told me. Just for me, he hit a few 6, 7 jokes during class, but there was one that was pretty obvious, I'll be honest. So not much happened here. Big credit to Lynn at this point. So fourth period, I did more notes about Germany's regime and how his daring to attack Britain failed, along with its plans to raid the USSR as a result of weak military and strong winds, because they couldn't raid Britain because of the English Channel's, I believe, prevailing westerlies. And since Russia was in a cold winter, it was going to be pretty hard for supply lines. So I learned on how Germany kind of failed on two fronts here and then eventually led to their defeat over time. So that was pretty interesting. Eventually, the teacher gave us a permission slip for a movie called quote unquote Schindler's List, quote unquote. And I was convinced that if we need a permission slip to watch this movie, this might be something that's going to be violent, something that covers on the atrocities of what happened on Germany's regime, under 1940. And then after that, I worked on a few other things after, and then I finished up business in that class when it came to work. A lunch period. The conversation went mostly fine, although I dragged a little too much about the boba. Not really much to note here, except that I was pretty hungry and I did get some yogurt, though I think that yogurt was too high in sugar anyway. Fifth period. I bet again that another one of the students were going to be late, and I was partially correct in that one came right after the bell, like right after the bell rang. And the teacher, again, was surprised, but also expected to be surprised. And my teacher acted like a mom for calling them out, saying that if they don't follow directions, then there's something that's gonna happen. If no one's sitting like right at the bell, then something's gonna happen, like punishments, all that stuff. She's acting like a mom at this point more than a teacher, and it's kind of funny but kind of sad at the same time. Now, during the period, we did read on Lord of the Flies on chapter 9, spoiler alert, on how Simon, as he realized it wasn't a monster, and then he realized he was going to tell the boys right after. And the problem is that it coincided that it was stormy, and the boys were at the main area doing a little chant about the beast. And as Simon approached, they thought he was a beast, and then Simon got killed as a result. They thought he was a beast, so it just ended up happening like that. And they described also how his body went upon the shore by some glowing fish, even though it was just the waves. Now, during that class, during the reading, I did keep on calling on my classmates' names, silently whispering, and saying that once they looked at me, that I didn't say anything to them. So think of it like after the reading, I just say like, that name, that name. I'm not gonna reveal their name, obviously, but whenever I whisper their name, when they do stare at me, I'm just gonna say like, I didn't say anything. And it was kind of funny. They probably got annoyed a few times, so sorry again if you're watching this video later on or right now. Then at the end, they asked me on why the girl's boyfriend and pseudo couple that's like in my row in the classroom won't talk to her, and it was kind of funny for both of us as it was happening. Really funny stuff. At this point, I'm going to call their little high school relationship something straight out of High School Musical. So it's like a pseudo couple that acts like a couple but isn't a couple. So it's kind of something in the middle right there. So they told me on how they're going to make him talk to her again. Yeah, this point is just convoluted to be honest. Bad thing is that I got confused on an assignment later on because the teacher said on a Google Docs assignment that we can choose what character we want and show an image of it, but there was also another different bullet point that it must be what we think they are, and have that compared to an after photo on them months on the island. I don't know, since these are two different bullet points, having an image of the character and having that image having to be something that you think they are. I'm not sure if it was one image or two different ones since there are two different bullet points. So for me, since it's two instructed bullet points, I'm just gonna pull a pic from the web of what Ralph actually looks like, and then I draw what I think Ralph looks like, and then the other, what he looks like after in chapter 9, because they're all in rugged clothing. A sixth period, the same muscular guy talked to me and he called me bueno, thinking that I didn't know Spanish. I answered entiendo español, which he probably wasn't expecting, but it went mostly fine. Well, he probably didn't know I spoke Spanish, to be honest, since I am a B1 speaker, but I'm still not quite there yet to become like a native speaker. The teacher then made a joke on how one of the students' minds were let loose and that she's gonna have to call a canine for them to get their focus again. It was awkward laughter at her joke, but I did get what it means because if you let your mind loose, someone's gonna send a canine to get after it so you can concentrate again. Anyways, the teacher taught us how to do quadratic formula on problems where there are no roots or solutions, and I was able to finish it as my other friend was absent today and did not make any terrible jokes. And after that, for a few minutes, I worked on my homework at home, and then I decided to visit the library that's in my county. As much as I did want to make a new interaction, I decided to leave immediately since most of them are adults, and it's not wrong to talk with adults, but many of them do have their own business, do have their own responsibilities, and may not want to be bothered since they also have social circles of their own. Still worth going, so big credits to me on that. But after that, I decided maybe I want to go to the park since it's just mostly adults, so I'll maybe try again tomorrow. The thing is, well, the park was just mostly adults as I thought it would be, so eventually I just decided to get a burrito after, replace that tortilla with whole grain tortillas, and call it a dinner, call it a day, and call it a good night.